Good Samaritan Hospital in Los Angeles.
We could all use some extra protection while we're out there.
This 10th annual Blessing of the Bicycles coincides with Bike Week Los Angeles, which encourages people to bike or walk to work if they can. And this year is extra special because it honors an outgoing city councilman for his years of service to the biking community. Councilmember Bill Rosendahl, who couldn't attend, is honored with this year's Golden Spoke Award for his work in promoting bike safety. He's championed a city ordinance that makes it illegal for drivers to harass cyclists. He's also helped lead LA's bicycle master plan through the legislative process. That plan is expected to connect 1,700 miles of bikeways when complete.
There's no question that we have a long way to go. But what a tremendous road we've traveled and how far we've come.
Besides uniting the cycling community, this event has also reunited Councilmember Tom LaBonge with a long-lost cousin.
I haven't seen him in 40 or 50 years. Yeah, they live way out in the valley. So that's what bikes does. It brings families together.
So a prayer for safety, one for the road. At Good Samaritan Hospital, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Councilmember Bill Rosendahl, who opted not to run for re-election, will be leaving office this summer as council member of the West Side District. Our city boasts many iconic buildings and landmarks whose origins you may not know. As Rasha Goel tells us, Los Angeles recently honored a man who came to this country as an immigrant, but who left a big imprint on our city.
Local landmarks such as the LA Coliseum, LA City Hall, and Bullock's Wilshire represent one man's contributions to the City of Angels. And our city recently gave back by posthumously honoring renowned architect John B. Parkinson with his own day.
This guy was a hero. So we salute John Parkinson today as an architect who's part of Brit Week here in the city of Los Angeles.
Brit Week, which highlights the connections between Great Britain and California, made for perfect timing to honor the British architect.
We also are extremely conscious of the extraordinary role that Brits have performed in the development of the city of Los Angeles over the years.
Author Stephen G., who has written a book about the British architect, was also recognized during the ceremony.
No other architect more deserves this honor, and it's long, long overdue.
While Parkinson hailed from England, he made a name for himself in Los Angeles in the early 20th century as the premier architect.
John Parkinson's work was integral to early Los Angeles history. His majestic buildings allowed the city to develop into the commercial, social, and cultural powerhouse that it is today. We are so fortunate that these buildings survive and grace our streets still.
John Parkinson passed away in 1935, but left a large imprint in the city of Los Angeles. He and his son designed over 400 buildings, such as Union Station. Over 50 of them still remain. In Los Angeles, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
You can find out more about the life and work of John Parkinson in Stephen G.'s book, Iconic Vision, John Parkinson, Architect of Los Angeles. Each year, one council member honors hardworking students in his district with a special luncheon and awards presentation. Anna Marcos takes us to the Adelante Awards ceremony.
Go on, slowly open, Ian. Show them that this is okay.
Magic tricks were part of the fun at the 10th Annual Adelante Awards. But there's no magic trick to how these bright students got here. Each year, the Adelante Awards honor the top 2 students from every school in Jose Huizar's 14th Council District. Huizar tells the audience what inspired him to launch the awards event.
I remember as a young boy going to school, it was those recognitions that I received that encouraged me and inspired me to continue doing well in school.
Students in each school are picked by teachers and principals, not only for their academic performance, but their service to the community.
It's always that pride that you have in your school, and just being proud of myself and just keep going.
We feel proud of her. I mean, this is an accomplishment that, not all the people get. She's a smart little girl, and hopefully, she'll go to college and accomplish whatever she wants in life.
There was even a scholarship for the highest GPA.
Congratulations, Kai, and this is a $500 scholarship.
You're amongst the best of the best, the cream of the crop, and we hope you can continue to go on and do great things.
And tonight, about 150 of these awards will sit proudly on the mantelpiece at home, encouraging the young super achievers to achieve greater things yet. That, after all, is the idea. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
A popular park and local landmark prepares to reopen. A tunnel is transformed into an underground art gallery and a reward offered in a fatal hit-and-run case. These stories and more in City Beat. It isn't quite done yet, but Echo Park Lake and the park surrounding it will reopen to the public on Saturday, June 15th. The park was closed in 2011 for a comprehensive rehabilitation funded by Prop O, the nation's largest local clean water initiative. The rehabilitation will help remedy stormwater and urban runoff pollution to meet state water quality standards. But the work won't just help the environment. City leaders say it will also allow for the lake's iconic lotus flowers to once again bloom. It's an unexpected art space, this underground tunnel at 3400 North Figueroa Street in Cypress Park. But Councilmember Ed Reyes worked with the owner of Antigua Coffee House to transform what was a closed pedestrian tunnel linking the coffee shop to Nightingale Middle School into a vibrant underground art gallery. Reyes secured $8,000 to have the Bureau of Street Lighting repair lighting inside the tunnel. Volunteers helped paint the inside of the tunnel. While there's no art hanging there now, the tunnel will be open to the public to coincide with the Northeast Los Angeles Art Walk, held the second Saturday of each month. Councilmember Paul Krikorian has announced a $50,000 reward for information that could lead to the apprehension of suspects sought in a fatal hit-and-run incident in Valley Glen. Police say on March 24th of this year, 18-year-old David Granados was killed after a car hit him as he rode his bicycle on Bel Air Avenue at Oxnard Street. Granados died in a hospital the next day. If you have any information, you're asked to call 877-LAPD 24/7. 1,000 high school students from 24 Southern California schools participated in this year's 24th annual Los Angeles Master Chorale's High School Choir Festival held at the Walt Disney Concert Hall. The event, held at the end of last month, was part of a year-long in-school outreach program. The Choir Festival is one of the largest high school choir gatherings in the nation. The schools from the Los Angeles Unified School District that participated were Grant, Ramon Cortines, Venice, Narbonne, and Taft High School. The St. Andrews Recreation Center recently got a major makeover, improvements that officials hope will benefit the whole community. Yana Kay reports.
These kids are running basketball drills and getting some tips from LA Clippers basketball players Roni Turiaf, Eric Bledsoe, and Willie Green. It's all part of a special event to celebrate several upgrades to the St. Andrews Recreation Center in South Los Angeles.
I think it's great. We come here a lot, and it was a little messy when there was sand everywhere. So now that they have renovated it and given it that soft ground, it's great. I can see them jumping and they're not falling and hurting themselves, which I've seen before.
The Clippers organization, as part of its FIT program, which promotes health and wellness, along with the Department of Recreation and Parks, the California Endowment, the City of Los Angeles, and other private corporations partnered to refurbish 3 Los Angeles parks.
We came out here and we built this park for you. This is about you. We want you to come out here. We want you to have fun. We want you to stay healthy, and we want you to take care of this park.
Some of the upgrades include new basketball courts, a new fitness zone, and a refurbished playground with a rubber surface. And these kids couldn't wait to try it out. All in an effort to encourage fitness, good nutrition, and a healthy and active lifestyle.
What we want to do is provide a place for our kids in the community of Los Angeles to have a safe place to come and play.
Every parent here, every child here knows that you need physical activity to be healthy, physical activity to have a happy life.
A ribbon cutting made it official, marking the transformation of an old park into a bright gathering and activity spot for all to enjoy. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
And in this week's list of things to do, a classic film about a newspaper tycoon, a documentary that's all about Venice, and catching a stage performance while waiting for the metro train. It's a classic movie every movie buff should see and see again. The 1941 Warner Brothers film Citizen Kane will be playing Saturday, May 25th at 7:30 p.m. at the Egyptian Theater, located at 6712 Hollywood Boulevard. Orson Welles was only 25 when he directed this masterpiece and remains one of the most phenomenal motion pictures ever made. Wells also stars as Charles Foster Kane, a ruthless man who built a newspaper publishing empire who was supposedly modeled after the real-life William Randolph Hearst. For ticket information, go to americancinematheque.com. And for a totally different kind of film experience, head on over to Beyond Baroque in Venice on Saturday, May 25th from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. to catch the high-def documentary Venice Souvenir about the people, places, and things in Venice, Los Angeles. Watch over 40 different stories about shopping on Abbot Kinney Boulevard, boardwalk performers, surfing and roller skating in the Venice Beach area, and more. Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center is located at 681 Venice Boulevard. Go to beyondbaroque.org for ticket information. And here's a unique way to enjoy the theater. The Meet Me at Metro 4 program is bringing stage performances to you at the Metro stations. On Saturday and Sunday, May 25th and 26th, the Watts Village Theater Company will be staging shows at noon and again at 1 p.m. near the 103rd and Rosa Parks stations along the Blue Line in Watts. Each performance piece, which explores the subjective theme of home with musical accompaniment, will run about half an hour. The 103rd Metro station is located at 10100 Grandee Avenue, and the Rosa Parks station is located at 11611 Willowbrook Avenue in Watts. Go to Meet Me at Metro 4 at eventbrite.com for ticket and other information. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. She's a funny lady who's getting the last laugh. Known best for her namesake show, The Carol Burnett Show, the comedian is now being honored by the city of Los Angeles with her own namesake square. She's seen her name in lights and even her likeness painted on this mural on the east wall of her alma mater, Hollywood High School. And now, right outside the school at Highland and Selma Avenues, the award-winning actress, comedian, and best-selling author Carol Burnett has an intersection named in her honor.
I went to Hollywood High School on Highland here, and I went to Selma Avenue Grammar School. And so that's a thrill. This was my neighborhood. I grew up here. I went to all the movies here with my grandmother on Hollywood Boulevard, and I just hope she's up there somewhere looking down and being as proud as I am today.
Burnett celebrated the unveiling of Carol Burnett Square with her signature ear tug, and by doing what she's done for decades, posing for the cameras. And judging from the shouts from the media, Burnett, at the age of 80, still hasn't lost her appeal.
Someone so special, who's so international, who everyone loves, is a graduate of Hollywood High, who everyone admires, who took generations of people to points of family entertainment that was never seen before.
Indeed, Burnett made millions laugh with The Carol Burnett Show, which aired from 1967 to 1978. But on this day, the funny lady was reduced to tears of joy when students from Hollywood High School paid tribute to her and her career with a moving song.
Keep the dream alive, don't let it die. It was something deep inside, keeps inspiring you to try. Don't stop and never give up. Don't ever give up on you.
Burnett never did give up and succeeded in show business beyond her wildest imagination. But Carol Burnett has always been more than just a funny lady. She's also an inspiration for the next generation of entertainers. Most recently, Burnett, who turned 80 on April 26th, became a best-selling author with a memoir about her late daughter, Carrie Hamilton. That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Visions that can change the world, trapped inside an ordinary girl. She looks just like me, too afraid to dream out loud. And though it's sad for your idea, it won't make sense to everybody. You need courage now, if you're gonna persevere.
G'day, Troy McCubbin from North Hollywood. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
Welcome to Councilman. 22nd. We want to welcome our delegate. Tell us about your school. Good morning. This is May 22nd, 2013. You ever say that, Alan? 1913. 1913 is when the water first came from Owens Valley. We have that centennial later this year. So we salute the water and power for that. Good morning. This is Los Angeles City Council. This is the 22nd day of May, 2013. Mr. Clerk, good morning to you. Please call the roll. Mr. West.
Heller, Buscaino, Englander, Garcetti, Weezer, Carrasco, Corin, LaBonge, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zine, Wesson, 10 members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Englander moves. Mr. Alacon seconds.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Krikorian moves. Mr. Parks seconds.
Mr. President, there is a request from the Office of Finance to continue items 1B, 1C, 1D, and 1E to June 12th. Again, that's 1B, C, D, and E to June 12th.
Without objection.
Very good, sir. Items 1 through 12 are items noticed for public hearing. Mr. President, we do have a card in for item 1A.
All right, so call that special. Members, any interest in that? Any interest 1 through 12? So let's open the roll on the balance. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Mr. President, again, unless reconsidered at a later time with 12 members, those ordinances will be held over for a second reading.
Very good. Thank you. Next item.
Items 13 through 29 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, let's, for consideration. Without objection.
And, Mr. President, we're awaiting an amending motion for item 19. That should be held on the desk.
Lay that on the desk.
Very good, sir. We do have cards on items 13, 17, 20, 24, 27, 28, and 29, sir.
Okay, so we'll call those special. And next item. Any specials member? Any specials member? No specials. So no specials. So that's it, Mr. Clerk. Now, can I call on the President of the City Council, or where are we right now?
Mr. President, we should first vote on the remaining items.
All right, let's vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
And again, sir, those ordinances will be held over for 1 week for a second read unless reconsidered at a later time with 12 members.
You got it. Next item.
Mr. President, item 30 is an item scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold it on the desk?
Yeah, we'll hold it on the desk. Can we go to presentations right now?
Very good, sir.
Good. At this time, I'd like to call on the President of the City Council, Mr. Herb Wesson, for a very special presentation.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I'm pleased to welcome back to our chambers the LA for Lupus Awareness folks, because this is Lupus Awareness Month. This disease has affected me personally. Back in the late 70s, when I first got a job with then Senator Nate Holden, our administrative assistant had lupus, and I've watched her battle and fight it, and she's still alive to this day. Her name is Rosemary Spriggs. In fact, when I became elected to the California State Legislature, I hired her, and she worked with me. She had to have special treatment, and she really had to take care of herself. So she is a perfect example that you can live and function if you know how to deal with your condition. Also, my chief deputies, who's here with me every day, Deron Williams, his wife has suffered from lupus, and I don't even remember how long she's been diagnosed, and she still lives a good life, and it's painful at times, no doubt about it, and it can have an effect on your heart, your kidney, you name it. And it's really the highest rates, as seems to be everything, is in the minority communities. So it's important, and a lot of people they've never even heard of lupus. They don't have a clue. They don't know what that is. And so what these young ladies do behind me is to try to ensure that people are aware. This is a very, very tricky disease because a lot of times you go in, they can't really diagnose what it is because it masks itself as other problems. So the sooner you begin to try to get treatment and testing is the better. So it is with the great pride that I would like to, and this is personal to me, so I'll do it every year. I mean, every year. This is personal to me. So I'd like to present a certificate that's signed by all of us, Lupus Awareness Month, and I would like to, I think it's Cynthia? I'm going to ask Cynthia to say a few words. Could you do me a favor, folks? Give them the round of applause that they deserve. This is it here.
Get Janice Wise.
We're going to go in the back and take pictures right after this.
Thank you very much.
We're going to get everybody in.
Great. Thank you, Council Member President Herb Wesson, and all the council members for honoring Lupus LA during Lupus Awareness Month. I would like to acknowledge we have our board members, our staff, Lupus LA staff, and a lot of our lupus community behind us. Lupus is a chronic autoimmune disease that impacts people in a very serious way. The body produces antibodies where it impacts the brain, the heart, the kidneys, a lot of vital organs. We have 1.5 million Americans living with lupus, 60,000 of which actually live here in the county, in LA County. Ladies and gentlemen, there are more people with lupus than there are people living with AIDS, cystic fibrosis, MS, and other illnesses, but yet it's one of the illnesses, one of the diseases that is less recognized and that there's less awareness for. Lupus LA is one of the only organizations here in Los Angeles that provides program services in forms of support groups in 9 different cities and also patient conferences. Our role is really to raise research for lupus, and in the last 13 years, Lupus LA has raised over $9 million for lupus research. We are happy to be here and to share this with you. Lupus LA is happy to increase the awareness for Lupus Awareness Month, and as a lot of people with lupus, living with lupus know, there are good days and there are bad days, and today, thanks to your leadership, council members, it's a very good day for people here in Los Angeles, so thank you very much.
Cynthia, thank you very much, Mr. Wesson. Thank you. So go on the back in the room, if you would, and take some photos. That'd be very nice, Sergeant, if you could help escort the group back. Mr. Parks for a presentation. Welcome Bernard Parks to the 8th District.
Thank you very much. Let me ask Daphne Bradford to come up, and we have 3 Crenshaw High School students with her. We're going to honor a total of 5 today, but there's 3 here. Basically, first of all, I'll give you a little background on Daphne. Daphne, several years ago, basically became interested in public service and also education and civil rights by following and creating a friendship with Rosa Parks. It led her to develop a nonprofit which she called Mothers of Many. During that nonprofit, she has chose to concentrate on education and then moved into technology, where she has created a very interesting dynamic with our Crenshaw High School. And I'm particularly interested in the fact that many of us have heard about Crenshaw's high school's exploits as it relates to basketball and also most recently in football. But academically, we basically honored this school a while back because they made the largest upgrade in their academic decathlon in 1 year. They went from, I think, in the 50s to 60s to in the top 10. So we brought them here. But today we wanted to honor a unique group of students who we call the Crenshaw High School Digital Media Team. We're recognizing them because this media team has made an innovative technology history in the first group in the entire Los Angeles Unified School District to design and release a game called Going Bananas for Health, which is the Windows 8 App Store. The game inspired by Let's Move High School partnership with the First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama. When we look at this app, they have chosen, because we also know that Crenshaw High School has had a long history of having access to a garden, and also at one time actually begin to sell their goods from the garden and begin to develop a salad dressing. So they've had a long history. But these young people decided to create an app to begin to tell the public on how you can eat healthy, how you can use healthy food, and basically in moving this game forward, basically they've created Apple Dapple into a little Johnny mouth, and to avoid dangers of little Johnny being fed awful, unhealthy hot chips that make kids love to eat. And not only kids, but adults also. Each time little Johnny gets an Apple Dapple in his mouth, the player advances to the next of the 3 levels. What we like to do is cue the tape so you can see what I'm saying, so you won't think I've gone senior on you by talking about Apple Dapple. But why don't we cue the tape and they can actually see the app. You got the volume?
Kate, for you all to have Windows 8 in the classroom, the tablets, at your access. As you'll see today, you have a group of Crenshaw High School students there in the back. They're the first group of Los Angeles Unified School District schools throughout the whole district to have a game in the Windows 8 App Store.
Our game is based off of our partnership with First Lady Michelle Obama's Let's Move initiative. So we have our 2.5-acre garden space here at Crenshaw High School, and first we started gardening, and we like to grow our fruits and vegetables there. But since we're also on the digital media side, we had the idea of making this game in order to promote that.
Our game is about kind of picking healthier choices like the apple. So we took the apple and basically made him the star. And so his name, our apple's name is Apple Dapple, and then it's a boy named Johnny. And Johnny, he's hungry, but then you have these hot chips trying to get to Johnny, trying to make him eat all the hot chips and make him fat and stuff. We don't want that. So we want to give him a healthy option. So Apple Dapple, he's trying to get past the hot chips and get to Johnny. So he has to destroy the hot chips.
I got the banana.
Come on now, shine down. Get it,
All right, good. So we got a winner. All right. No claps. All right, that's yeah. What do we want? Where do we want it? When do we want it?
Okay. Thank you very much. We want to honor today 3 members of the digital media team here and also acknowledge those that are not here. First of all, I would like to, the founder of the program, Daphne, I'd like to say thank you very much. Mr. Sam Stroke. Thank you. Come on up here. And then also 3 of the students, Kevin Rivera, Dominic Wilkes, and Izul Para. We'd like to ask Kevin at this time to make some comment, and then Daphne will close it out, and want to just thank them for this innovative approach.
Speak right into this. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin Rivera, and on behalf of Mother of Many and the Crenshaw High School Digital Media Team, I would like to thank all of you for having us here and thanking us for our achievement. My peers, Izul Para and Dominic Wilkes and I, along with our teacher and mentor, Ms. Daphne Bradford, we're here to share our game, Going Bananas for Health, and that is currently available in the Windows 8 App Store. Our team has made history once again, where we're the first set of students from the Los Angeles Unified School District to build a game-based application on the Windows 8 operating system. And we're also college-bound students. We're seniors from Crenshaw High School, and we'll be attending college in the midst of, the summer. And I'll be attending University of California, San Diego for majoring in computer science. Dominic Wilkes will be attending Los Angeles Trade Technical College for culinary arts, and our salutatorian, Izul Para, will be attending University of California, Los Angeles for physics. Let's see. Basically, all together, the 3 of us will be studying STEM, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, where our game is centered around, because the way we made our game is through computer gaming. And also our game helps promote healthy eating by having adolescents or elderly people, find healthier alternatives to eating usually the infamous junk food that are out there. And also, we're wondering if we'll be able to support Mother of Many's STEM program, which is run by Ms. Daphne Bradford, in order to keep that program going, because we are currently working on the STEM projects. So that's it. And basically, we're excited to show you our game, and we hope you enjoy Going Bananas for Health, which will be found on the Windows 8 App Store.
Daphne?
I'll be very, very brief. I gambled on this. I tried to raise $25,000 to do what I thought our students are missing out on. I didn't get the $25,000, so I said, well, get a job or invest in education and everything you promised to Rosa Parks when you had that conversation. So I gambled, and I won with these kids. Financially, maybe not, but let me break this down to you with something recent. In 2007, I became an Apple Distinguished Educator. That same year, a 12-year-old decided to teach himself how to code to make apps for the Apple Store. A few months ago, in March, Yahoo bought his app for $30 million. And I could not get $25,000 to invest in inner city children. If you watched the news yesterday, a 9th grader who dropped out of high school, and his parents gambled on him to let him just investigate computers and coding at home. Yahoo, he did this in 2007. Yahoo just bought Tumblr for $1.1 billion. And I could not get $25,000 to invest in our kids who can do the same thing. I'm so happy to be here today because now these 3 young men
have given you the example of what can happen if we all collectively invest in our kids, because I know for a fact that these three young men, under the mentorship of myself and Microsoft technology evangelist Sam Stokes, who dedicated his time for a year and a half on behalf of Microsoft, we have future millionaires and billionaires in the inner city, at Crenshaw High School, at Dorsey High School. That $25,000 that I tried to get and still haven't gotten is like 25 cents when you compare that to $1.1 billion for a high school dropout. So today, I want to thank you, Council Member Parks, for giving us this opportunity to be here and show ourselves as an example of what can happen when you teach kids how to dream big, encourage them to do something that is unimaginable to them, because if every city council member here would even invest $1,000, that's halfway to the $25,000 that I could have used. So thank you so much, and we hope that you will invest in our kids in the inner city, just as these parents and community members invested in Tumblr and Sumley. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'd just like to mention for the record, two of our students are not here, Imani Bradford and Jacqueline Lopez. They're going to be honored, and Ms. Bradford will take that back to the school. Thank you very much. We're going to go in the back and take some photos.
Okay, now we have our next presenter, Councilmember Tom Labange.
Mr. President, members, before we do, in the rear of the City Council chambers is the Westwood Charter Elementary, third grade. Big hand. Welcome to City Hall. And I'd like to call on, far from Westwood, but close to home, the Busan, Korea Committee of Trade. Come up here, fellas. Come up here. As you know, Mr. President, Avakatayan of our legislative analyst staff does such a good job assisting the Sister City program. Busan is a sister city for many, many, many years, and they have a trade office in Los Angeles. And we're all concerned about jobs, 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 jobs. And the trade between our countries is so strong and important. So I especially wanted to recognize the Busan trade delegation here, who are here, and especially welcome their chairman, Kim Young Wong. Kim Young? Yes. So I want to welcome you on behalf of the City of Los Angeles and the whole delegation. Please give them a big hand. You want to say it? No, I'm good. Good. You want to say it? We say it together. Ready? Come here. Come. Say, 감사합니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
That's it. Okay, we got it there. Good job. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Wesson, our very special president, all of us there. Mr. Wesson, a great friend of the Korean American community. 감사합니다, Mr. President.
Oh, Mr. Labange, Taedan Hee, 감사합니다.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Yeah. Lisa.
Okay, you know what I want to do? No, you know what? I'll wait. I will wait for a minute or two until Mr. Parks comes out. Okay, Mitchell, okay. Item 28, Mitchell Englander. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. And I brought some friends with me.
A good-looking lot.
Absolutely.
Oh, and I forgot to tell you, we have a card from Mr. Walsh on this, so after you finish, we'll bring him up.
Fantastic.
Okay.
All right. Well, today I am honored to be joined by the EMS first responders in declaring this week of May 19th through the 25th, 2013, as a Emergency Medical Services Week. Emergency medical service is a vital public service and a core mission to the fire department. The theme for this National EMS Week is one mission, one team, much like this body. One mission, one team. And today, Wednesday, May 22nd, is National Emergency Medical Services for Children's Day throughout the country. And access to quality emergency care dramatically improves survival and recovery rates for those who experience sudden illness and injuries each and every day, as we all know. Los Angeles Fire Department's first responders, emergency medical technicians, and paramedics stand ready all the time to provide compassionate, life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Emergency medical responders are supported by emergency medical dispatchers and firefighters, law enforcement officers, educators, administrators, researchers, emergency nurses, emergency physicians, certainly a lot of community volunteers that we have here throughout the city, like CERT and many others. And the most important thing in thinking about our EMS week and our first responders are what they do and bring every day to the job. They sacrifice each and every day, not only, as we always talk about, these are the ones that run towards danger, that run into fires, that run towards the bullets. But they sacrifice the time away from their families as well. They sacrifice missing birthdays and holidays because of their schedules. They sacrifice in going through all the training requirements that they constantly have to do. They sacrifice a great deal, putting their lives literally on the front lines each and every day to save us. Their training is superior to any other training in any other industry. These men and women train more and learn more while on the job than any other industry, period. They are constantly revamping. They're constantly looking at every single thing every day on how they can improve. After every major incident, they have conversations on after-action items. What could we have done differently? What could we do to improve? What can we do to enhance ourselves, our knowledge, our experience, our training, our equipment? They constantly thrive to improve. Their passion that they bring every day to the job. These are the individuals that are dealing with the most horrific incidents each and every day. These are the ones that are on the front lines in critical incidents, whether those are car accidents or fires, certainly loss of life, drowning victims, choking victims, heart attacks, you name it, they see it each and every day. But the passion, while they remain professional, to comfort those, the family members, those in need, is extraordinary. They're superhuman beings. And so it is a great delight for me to bring forth our heroes in our community and recognize EMS Week nationally here. This is the most important thing that we do, is to fund and equip and give the ability to allow them to do their job each and every day. That is the cornerstone and the foundation of local government. And so it's an honor for me to recognize our EMS heroes here today and introduce with that Chief Yamahata, who will introduce some of the others behind me as well. Thank you very much.
Before you do that, Mitch, I'd like to call on Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, nobody was smiling on your side, looked rather serious, but I'm smiling on my side. I'm smiling for the obvious reasons that the EMS has come to me personally with the cancer that I have. I was just thrown down, and with your help, I got in the ambulances, ended up getting 13 hits of radiation, and then I was told I'd be dead, and then we fought, and we did this and did that. But without you guys, I wouldn't be alive here today. Men and women, women and men. See a lady right over there, so I can see your head a little bit. See another one right over there. But from a patient standpoint, there's nothing better than people who know what they're doing and who are constantly learning from each other and sharing that information. And that is what I consider the health care we as a great nation should have. So thank you, thank you, thank you from a person who has used the services. Bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl.
Mitchell, back to you.
Yes, I'd like to now introduce our Chief Yamahata to say a few words and introduce some of the fine folks behind us. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Councilman Englander and the rest of the City Council members, on behalf of Fire Chief Brian Cummings and the men and women of the Los Angeles Fire Department, I'd like to thank you for this recognition of EMS Week. This year marks the 40th week, annual EMS week across the nation. And again, as Councilman Englander pointed out, it's an opportunity to recognize the people that are doing the job on a daily basis. On the fire department, we respond to approximately 1,100 incidents every day. Of those 1,100, about 900 are EMS calls. And of those 900 EMS calls, we transport about 550 people every day. So needless to say, our people are doing a great job out there. And in order to do a great job, it takes a lot of support staff, which are the people behind me. Rather than to try and name every individual behind me, what I'd like to do is just talk about some of the different areas that we are supported on our department. And as I do, hopefully they'll raise their hand, and those individuals that are assigned to those. To assist or evaluate our dispatch center, we have our quality improvement section staff that monitors our call takers, evaluate their calls, and so forth. As indicated, we have a member from our dispatch center that is taking those hundreds of calls that we receive on a daily basis and determining what type of resource to send out on those incidents. In addition, we have members of our EMS division that monitor the performance of our paramedics that are out there, our EMTs that are out there working on a daily basis. In addition, we have one individual that handles our public access defibrillator program. If you notice walking throughout a number of our city buildings, you'll see those automatic external defibrillators that you see hanging on the walls of a number of our buildings. That program is managed as a result of our budget, but managed by one person on our department that manages the entire city. We have approximately 1,300 AEDs that are out there distributed throughout our buildings throughout the city of Los Angeles. In addition, of course, in order to ensure that our people are properly trained and certified, we have our EMS unit that ensures that our people have their EMT certifications as well as our paramedic certifications to maintain their status. So again, on behalf of the fire department, I'd like to thank Councilman Englander for this recognition and the rest of the council members. Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything that you do to help us.
We have a nice resolution signed by all of you as well, and I want to thank you for signing on to this as a token of our appreciation to our EMS, our first responders, for the service week and each and every day. I was talking to my staff last night, and they said, you know, we're launching EMS week. And I said, EMS week in the city of LA, at home for me, it's like Valentine's Day. Every day is Valentine's Day at home for me. EMS week for us, every day is EMS day in the city of LA. So God bless you. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Okay, if we could, Mitchell, part the Red Seas so I could call up John Walsh and Juan Acala. And then we'll vote on this item.
All righty. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
John Walsh.
Hold on. I didn't even see you.
Hold his time. Okay, Sergeant, I called him, let him talk.
Yeah. I'm not going to take the 2 minutes. I feel confident right now that if I ever drop dead in front of the city council, one of these people here will save my life. They do a fantastic job. You do a fantastic job. Your city workers, it's very fashionable now to attack you and say you're overpaid, you're underpaid. And we want, what is the price of a human life? These people have done a fantastic job. Hundreds, thousands of people are walking the street that would have been dead. And fortunately, I've never dropped dead yet, but believe me, this is the best city in the world to drop dead because they'll give me CPR and give you CPR and bring you back to life. Thank you.
Okay, Wanakala.
Mr. Welch, he wants you to drop dead, this guy here.
Just come on.
Okay, I'm only going to speak briefly, 1 minute. Save my minutes. Inner city computer science, that shows you that you should invest on people, don't be cheapskates. Comfort those in need. These guys comfort people in need. We are all in need. We are in need of a better system. You guys are ripping us off right and left.
He is not talking about this item.
To the item. No. Just speak to the item. I don't mind you talking, but speak to the item.
It said people in need. These guys help people in need, okay? Okay, I'm done. What?
Okay. Madam Clerk, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, what I'd like to do at this point is to ask for reconsideration of all of the ordinances, and then we will vote on them again because we do have 12 members present. So this vote is for reconsideration. Do you want to identify the items, or can we do it without that?
Let me do it briefly, sir. Those are items 2 through 12, 14 through 16, and item 18.
Okay. Then let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, those items are now before us. Let's prepare to vote, members. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, the next item we're going to do is item 17, called by John Walsh and Juana Kala. And Mr. LeBarnes, when you get a moment. Item 17, John Walsh, Juana Kala.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Go there and see the shocking picture on the front page. Number 17 concerns transfer and implementation and enforcement of on-site shopping cart requirements at street services. Shopping carts are out of control. But let's face it, you don't see any shopping carts on the west side because west of La Brea, they get services. East of La Brea, where we're at, all of the people who have no home are pushed over on our side with all their shopping carts. Shopping carts are a sign of poverty. Poverty is a sign of unequal distribution of wealth. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Juan, dude.
I wish to pass on this item. I just want you to remind you to go to my website and read my book.
All right, that clears the public comment on that item. Mr. Reyes, are you on the queue for this? Yes.
Thank you, Council President. Do we have staff on this item? Do we have any staff on this item? I do have a question and hopes to... Thank you. And your name again? For the record.
Salvador Miranda with the Bureau of Sanitation.
First, I want to acknowledge Councilman Cardenas who put a lot of time and effort in this policy. And in this transfer, which is what this action is allowing, could we get a report back on how we can implement this particular program? Does it come with any resources at this stage?
At this stage, it does not. There's actually 2 stages to this. Right now, we're actually at the phase 1 stage right now, and the phase 2 will involve a consultant to help us establish the overall program.
Okay, so what's the time frame like for implementation?
Well, if we move forward with this one, it's really difficult till the consultant gets in and we start reviewing the data and information that we have to gather to put the program in place. So it's really hard to say at this moment right now.
Can you just briefly describe the program? It's been a while since it's come to this floor. It's been in discussion for some time. I know Councilman Cardenas never let it go, which is great because we needed to focus on this. But now we're in front of colleagues that will be enacting a policy, and I think quality of life issues are impacted when you look at shopping carts that are strewn throughout the streets, in people's yards, left in public lots, open lots. So can you just briefly describe the program and give us the Reader's Digest version?
I'll do the best I can, Councilman. The phase 1 portion that we're here right now to kind of get a blessing from is basically just to deal with new upcoming markets that are existing or that are actually going to be built, or 50% of them are being refurbished. What this will do is actually help us to go out there and make sure that they're installing the proper mechanism, and we do give them options of what type of mechanism they choose to implement. With that said, basically it will contain the carts in the premises. So for the beginning part of the program, we believe strongly that the new markets will basically comply and they'll get these type of mechanism in place. The phase 2 is a little bit more challenging because we're going to be dealing with existing markets, and we're only looking at those that have 6 or more shopping carts on the premises. So as we move forward into the phase 2, we'll have a better structure, better understanding how we're going to be able to address that. Our main goal, again, is to make sure that the responsibility of those individual parties that do have these carts are actually kept on the property. And that, again, as you mentioned, Councilman, that they're not only a blight, but to become a safety concern for our children. I don't know how many of you have seen kids playing around with these carts and going down these hills. That's just a tragedy waiting to happen. So, again, this program here is going to help tighten up the way the existing program is now.
Could we get a report back once we understand the cost in terms of what it will take to implement?
Yes.
Whether it's in the first phase or second or both. But we should get a clear understanding of what we are trying to prioritize and what the funding will actually allow us to commit when we speak to our constituents and say we're going to take care of that problem, and it doesn't happen. And then we have a reason because we don't have enough funding. Since we're starting this program, let's understand what the cost is, and let this body make an informed decision as to how we can get it implemented.
That's not a problem. We'll make sure we have the data put together and gathered, and we will definitely present it back to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Thank you, Public Works. Very important. No other speakers on the queue. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
So ordered. Item number 1 by cards. John Walsh, please, followed by Mr. Wandood.
Minute 3. John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. See the throat slitting on our website. We just put it up. This is number 1. And again, this is protests requesting liens against taxpayers for unpaid taxes. Abbey, California parking, Abbey, California parking, Abbey, California parking, Abbey, California parking. Oh, and Abbey, California parking also. As far as collecting taxes, you're not that good at it, but there are other cities worse than you are. So that's sort of like the new mayor. Not the worst, but pretty bad. HollywoodHighlands.org. Keep those liens a-leanin'. Thank you.
So, Juan Dude is not in the room. Juan Dude is not in the room. His card is noted. So no speakers on the public podium. No speakers on the queue. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
So ordered. Next item. I want to recess the regular meeting and go into the special meeting, Mr. Clerk.
Yes, sir. For the special meeting, Alarcon, Buscaino, Englander, Garcetti, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zion, Wesson. 12 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
All right, let's start with item number 33. Mr. Parks, your item is on the special.
Mr. President, I do believe you have cards on item 33.
Thank you very much. Gerald Wright. Followed by Arnold Sachs. Followed by John Walsh. Followed by Judy Curtin. Robert Swartz, and I'll call them all later. Jim Kennedy, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished council members. Gerard Wright, co-chair of the Angeles Chapter Sierra Club Transportation Committee. We would like to support and give kudos to the financially creative suggestion prepared by council members Parks and Rosendahl in partnership with Mayor Villaraigosa to fund the Leimert Park and Westchester stations for the Crenshaw LAX transit corridor. We support this approach as being fiscally prudent with scarce taxpayer resources and as an environmentally responsive technique to equitably stretch the available local return dollars that are currently available for the life of Measure R to the City of LA. Building both stations within the bid procurement would ensure both communities receive equitable treatment. Sierra Club supports Leimert Park and Westchester's endeavors for light rail stations to stimulate economic activity, cultivate cultural resources, and promote strong transit-oriented development communities to reduce our region's dependence on oil and help reduce vehicle miles traveled in single-occupant vehicles. In addition, we see the cultivation of this corridor with these added stations necessary in the longer term to enable an extension of this corridor through Mid-City to meet up with the Wilshire Corridor and Hollywood, enhancing linkages to our growing transit network and to the vibrant neighborhoods throughout the city. And behind the map, touch our letters, a little map just displaying that. With that, I close. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Mr. Sachs, please, followed by Mr. Walsh.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. The City of Los Angeles and Measure R. First of all, Measure R is only short of the funding that the mayor promised or projected at $40 billion. You're only short $600 million a year. So start right there. Then keep in mind that the half-cent sales tax that was proposed by the council president and councilmen in the city council was going to raise $200 million a year. So keeping that in mind, think about the local return that the city would get on a half-cent sales tax, which is Measure R. And they want to use, keep in mind that back in February or March, the city council had already passed resolutions and rules and regarding the streetcar where they promised $240 million over the next 30 years, or about $10 million a year over the next 30 years of Measure R local returns. But also keep in mind that Councilman Parks made a resolution the same day or submitted something in writing, but never was discussed, a motion, that's what it was, that was never seconded regarding using Measure R funds for the stations at Leimert Park. But it was never seconded, so that means nothing. So you have the streetcar, which is going to eat up local return funding. You have the 6th Street Bridge, which is going to eat up local return funding. Your Measure R funding is behind by 60% of the promised land that the mayor and the council all agreed upon. But we're moving forward because we got momentum. And then you got to consider that this is Measure R local return funds 15%. What is that about? And don't forget the 3% local return Measure R funds that you have to pay to use Measure R funds.
All right, next, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Go and take a look at this throat slitting. This is complex, very complex. You're paying 1.5% on everything you buy. 3 sales tax, half-cent sales tax. A small sliver of that go to individual cities. Most of it goes to MTA to build rail. What they are doing here, instead of MTA paying for the rail station, the city of Los Angeles will take the money, which could go to repairing the streets, and spend it on this station. We are not against this station. There was once a Hollywood Cahuenga Boulevard station that we got rid of 10 or 15 years ago with Mayor Bradley. So we have fought station politics. But remember, the city of Los Angeles should not be paying for this. When you borrow money, it triples the cost. It says $55 million that you borrowed, and in 30 years, you've spent $150 million. It's things like this, putting money that should be paid by MTA, putting it and make it our responsibility, the city, that means that your streets will not be paved. Your streets will not be repaved. What you are doing here, no one is going to discuss this, and it's going to be 12-0. You can be sure of that, is making sure that that the streets of Los Angeles will continue to be in worse condition than any other city in America. That's not what I'm saying. And you might have a Leimert Park station, which they can snap their fingers over at MTA and pay off their dime, out of their wallet, not out of the city's wallet, when, as we know, hardly anybody takes the train. Hardly anybody. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Judy Catherine, is that correct, Judy? Please correct me.
You call my name, right?
Oh, hi, it's Judy Citron. Is that right?
You're right, Judy.
Okay. I'm a founding member of Westchester Neighbors Association and Westchester Democrats. I'd like to express my appreciation to City Council for supporting the Crenshaw LAX light rail stations in Westchester and Leimert Park. I live in Westchester, only a couple of blocks from where the planned Hindry station will be, and with your help, hopefully it will actually come to exist there. We first heard of the train coming through our neighborhood many years ago, and since then we've been fighting to make sure that we can actually get on the train. We'd like to thank the City Council, in particular our Councilman Bill Rosendahl, for their leadership and vision and what LA could and should be in the future. With your support, we look forward to going to the Metro Board meeting on June 27th with $55 million in hand, and we're hoping that they will not be able to say no to the Leimert Park and Hindry Station. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very nice. Robert Schwartz, is that correct, Robert?
May the Schwartz be with you.
It's Robert Schurtz. I want to thank the City Council for supporting this. I live in Westchester, and when the Green Line opened, I took my kids and we rode the train down to Los Angeles, down to downtown, and that's nice, but we don't get on the train very much because it's not very convenient. I'm really hopeful that with additional stations, including one really near our house, it'll be convenient and we'll be able to regularly use the train instead of having to drive everywhere. And so thank you guys, especially Council Members Parks and Rosendahl, for supporting this. I think it's going to be very positive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jim Kennedy, please.
Honorable Council members, I'm a Playa del Rey resident who's here to thank you, to thank all of you for your leadership. This is an amazing opportunity to fulfill the wishes of Westchester, Playa del Rey, and Playa Vista residents. They are all coming to support this. The Neighborhood Council supports it. The Westchester Neighbors Association supports it. And we also have the support, of course, from our council member, Bill Rosendahl, and other electeds. Congresswoman Maxine Waters supports this. State Senator Rod Wright supports it, and also Assemblymember Stephen Bradford. With all this support, why wouldn't you support this as well? Without this station, it's an optional station in the Metro EIR plan currently. There would be a 2.5-mile gap. There is no 2.5-mile gap anywhere in the light rail system. To give you an example, in the regional connector down here, that's 1.9 miles with 3 stations, costing $1.3 billion. We're asking for $15 million here, which is a bare-bone minimum station. It's not luxurious. The neighborhood was promised an aerial station over Manchester, but that turned out to be too expensive. So the community compromised, and they said they would accept this. And then Metro even took that off the board. With your leadership, you can put it back. And this is exactly what people want when they talk about positive public transit transformation. This will really revitalize Westchester and make it a real transit-oriented area. So thank you again. Hopefully you support this measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. On the queue.
Thank you very much. Could I have Jaime come up at this time? Jaime, could you walk us through exactly what's before us and also eliminate the confusion as to whether this is going to be bonded and for how much and how much we're saving by your recommendation?
Right. Thank you, Councilman. Jaime De La Vega, LADOT. The report before you actually responds to various council actions. I'll talk about the stations last. First, this report cleans up the funding assumptions for the streetcar based on prior council action. 2, it sets aside the local match money for the MTA rail and busway projects previously supported by the council. It also sets aside money for the bike program, pedestrian program, and street repairs.
And all of those are within the priorities that the council has already approved?
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
And then the specific action before you today is partial funding for 2 stations on the Crenshaw LAX line, one at Leimert Park, which would be an underground station, and the second in Westchester. The prior council direction asked the CAO and DOT to look at bond financing. Working with the CAO's office, we've been able to identify cash to fund both projects, both stations, and that will result in a savings in interest payments of at least $50 million compared to bonding. So our recommendation,
cash payments is to pay as you go as opposed to borrowing the money.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then the other issue on dealing with this is that have both of these stations been approved in the current EIR?
I believe that the Leimert Park station definitely is part of the EIR. I don't know if the Westchester station is or is not in there.
Okay. And then also, how will this, when you say partial, what does that mean, partial payment? Have we gotten commitment from MTA to fund a portion of Leimert?
The current cost estimate for Leimert Park underground station is $130 million. So this action would have the City Council and Mayor pledge $40 million towards that $130, with the expectation that the MTA board would commit the additional $90 million in the future.
And with that Leimert station, they've already approved an EIR. What they intended to do was build a box and wait for money to build it out. Is that correct?
Yes, that's my understanding.
And so this $40 million will help them build out the station.
Well, if the MTA board approves the other 90, I think what that provides for the mayor, council, and the community is certainty that the Leimert Park underground station will be part of the project.
Okay. And then MTA will be dealing with this very soon. How does this help our position by having this item today when this comes before MTA?
I think this is helpful because it shows a real commitment from the City Council to partially fund a very important station on the Crenshaw line.
Okay. We had a similar discussion, I think, at the station on Exposition at Figueroa, the special event station, they called it. And have we gotten any information on how helpful that has been on the line? Because many people were opposed to it, viewing it as an extra station, but at the time you'd have had to get off at Jefferson or Vermont, several miles of distance. How has that special event station worked?
I think it's working well, Councilman. You're seeing students use it on a regular basis as well as visitors to the museums and the Coliseum for special events.
So our expectation, if Leimert Park is as busy as it's been with View Park, Hyde Park, Leimert Park, our view is that that station will be very actively used, and also the Westchester station, that's a 2.5-mile distance between stations. Those will both be well used and well serve the community.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rosendahl. Bill Rosendahl, 11th District.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. You know, when you see the support system, colleagues around here for this, you're looking at Bernard Parks, Jan Perry, Mark Ridley Thomas, and Maxine Waters. You're looking at some important people within the process of that area there that make a lot of sense and have a position on it. It's clear to me that a stop in Westchester will help Westchester get downtown when we go downtown, and also get to the airport and not have to take any other form of transportation. That's why a stop in Westchester is critical. I've gone to the Henley location. I've seen how it can work. The community is behind it. When it gets to Leimert Park, you know, I defer obviously to Ms. Perry and Mr. Parks and Mark Ridley Thomas and others about do they go underground and how far and how do they, that's not for me. But I can tell you this, with the Crenshaw line and the Green Line going into the terminal at LAX and getting on the People Mover is part of the modernization that we strongly believe in. So, colleagues, this is a beautiful moment for us to set a historic step in the right direction, to have those two stops, which will make that Crenshaw line effective for bringing people downtown and the stops along the way. Yvonne Brathwaite Burke started it. Mark Ridley Thomas blew life back into it in a dramatic way. Jan Perry got really engaged heavily, and so did Bernard Park, and the mayor, obviously. So the combination of everything is the win-win-win that we need in every situation. So it's a no-brainer for me, colleagues, that we should move forward with this and expedite it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl. Ms. Perry.
I just wanted to mark this moment in time for people listening, and thank you, Mr. Parks, for being very, very vigilant on moving the community's agenda forward on making sure that we have a stop that'll revitalize the small businesses in the area and bring more tourists, more opportunities, and raise the property values and level the playing field for people throughout the entire city. So I'm really, really glad you did it. And I just want to make sure that people who are listening or watching understand that this, even though we're kind of quiet and there's not a lot of people here, that this is a monumental shift in the direction of this line, and that people's needs are actually being responded to. And while we need to get that additional $90 million, we're moving forward in the right direction.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parks. Ms. Perry, Mr. Parks.
The CR report be approved, which recommends that the DOT report be approved.
Very good. So no other speakers on the queue. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. Okay. And Mr. Parks will call that forthwith. Forthwith. Thank you very much. And thank you for the citizens who came down and testified. Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, on the special. Next item.
Mr. President, that brings us to items 31 and 32.
Are there historic monument designations? Let's take them together.
Yes, sir, you may.
Okay. No speakers on the queue. Designation for historic monuments. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
So ordered. Next item.
Mr. President, would you like to adjourn the special and return to the regular meeting?
Yeah, we've completed the special. Let's go to the regular.
Very good, sir. That brings us to item 13, called Special for Cards.
Mr. Walsh. Mr. Dude, 2 cards. Mr. Dude. Sergeant.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or go straight to jwalshconfidential.wordpress.com. It's always a pleasure to speak in front of Mr. Labange, who's never nasty. This is for communication from Jose Huizar for the Community Forest Advisory Committee. You know, we got a dozen community forests in my neighborhood, and we need these advisors. It's very important. As you know, Hollywood and the entire city is covered with forests. And So we want Mr. Woodward to look out for our forests. We 100% believe in planting forests in LA, and it's not a bureaucratic boondoggle at all. It's very, very important. HollywoodHighlands.org. Stay tuned for my 2 minutes of free time.
Mr. Dude.
Mr. LeBonch, did you read my card? It doesn't say Mr. Dude. It says Juan Alcala. That's my real name. Juan Alcala. Why are you calling me Mr. Dude?
Out of familiarity. Mr. Alarcon, go ahead.
Familiarity.
On this item only.
All right. I'm only going to speak 1 minute. And since I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to pass.
Thank you very much. No other speakers on the queue, Mr. Clerk? Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Next item.
Mr. President, that brings us to item 19. It was called special for an amending motion, Alarcon-Wesson, which has been distributed and before council for consideration, as well as cards.
Daniel Gus here. Is Daniel Gus here? So card for Daniel Gus, card for John Walsh. Juan Alarcon, you want to speak, Juan?
Housing, and that's right down my aisle. We should do housing in a very different way. Right now, City Hall is ripping everybody off. The Founding Fathers actually set up a system where the elite can rip off the people and keep them in slavery. We need to end the slavery dealing with real estate. That's where we get the source of our slavery. We work like idiots all our lives just to pay rent or mortgage to some rich, powerful, ruthless, well, the adjectives go down to devilish and individuals. Even if you believe in the devil, that's your problem. I just believe we got devils on earth ripping everybody off, greedy devils. And that's what we got to end. We have to create a parallel system where everybody has a home and nobody can lose it for any reason, to taxes, to whatever you call your money laundering systems. You have a lot of money laundering systems, and you got to end that way of doing business. It all started with the Queen of England, the monarchy, the Roman emperors, and we haven't made any progress yet. Remember, Jesus was born in a manger, thanks to people like you.
All right, that completes.
Give everybody a home.
Thank you very much. No other speakers on the queue. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
And Mr. President, again, that was adopting item 19A.
19A?
Yes.
What's before us right now?
Item 20, sir, called special for cards.
All right, John Walsh.
1 minute.
Mr. Alarcon, you're out of time, sir. Doesn't care. If you pass, we count your card. Thank you. Followed by Mr. Sachs.
John Walsh. jwalshconfidential.wordpress.com. This is number 20. Concerns civic innovation. And this is more of these developmental departments. This is spending money to solve complex civil problems, including a discussion of staffing. We're funding discussions here. And budgetary needs, possible, you can't make stuff like this up. Possible funding streams, and what other cities such as Boston and Philadelphia are doing in this regard. You have a nerve to put something like this on the agenda. A colossal nerve. Welcome to Garcettiville, HollywoodHighlands.org.
All right, Arnold Sachs.
Garcettiville.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. The real problem with this item is it starts out solving complex civil problems and then moves on to solving complex civic problems. in addition to the fact that you've already put on hold the formation for the EDD department, which is going to take the place of the redevelopment agencies, we are moving forward at light speed, warp speed, as Captain Kirk would say. And he would mention to Scotty, I need photon torpedoes, Scotty. We have the enemy in front of us, and it's us. It's also pretty ridiculous. You're going to delay the implementation of this department while you discuss the civic and civil problems. Will that include hiring outside counsel, by the way? Thank you very much.
That completes the cards on this item. No speakers on the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. Next item.
Mr. President, that brings us to item 24, called Special for Cards.
Does Mr. Sachs have any time left, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir, he does.
Mr. Sachs and Mr. Ellicott have any time left, Mr. Clerk?
No, sir, he does not.
Okay, so we note your card, sir. Mr. Sachs, your clock is running, sir. You have to be prepared. You know that as well as anybody. Thank you very much. You move good, quick. Good movement.
I have to listen to you, the knuckleheads who talk about Measure R when you're out of money.
He is not talking about this
Anyway,
item.
the Brown targets, and thank you, Mr. City Attorney, I am talking about this item. This is from May 15th, 2013. Governor Brown targets enterprise zones. The key to the enterprise zones is, in fact, not that they create new jobs, but they refill existing jobs by firing somebody and then hiring somebody to take that person's spot. So essentially, they're not really creating economic growth except for the companies. They are just creating an economic tax on the citizens because you pay to maintain their company's tax breaks while they just fill old positions. 1 minute.
All right, do you want to note that, Mr. Clerk?
Duly noted, sir.
Okay. No other speakers on the queue? Open the roll.
Go right.
Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. Next item.
Mr. President, that brings us to item 27, called Special for Cards.
And the only card eligible is Mr. Sachs.
Mr. Sachs, Mr. Welch loves you.
Well, yeah. Item 27 actually refers to another one of the City Council's pet sources of revenue. This is street furniture revenue. Approximately $20,000 in street revenue going to 2 neighborhood councils to do work within the council districts. Actually, what should be happening is change to the city council, to the city charters, never mind the city council charters, but to the city charters themselves, so that the neighborhood councils actually get a percentage of the revenue that's generated from street furniture, from bus benches, from oil pipelines, from AB 1290, from billboards, all the revenue that's not accounted for in budget discussions. The neighborhood councils should be getting a percentage of that to do this kind of work. You need to change the charter.
All right, no other speakers on the queue on this item? Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. Next item.
Mr. President, that brings us to item 29, called Special for Cards.
Mr. Sachs, you asked this to be special.
If they were listening to you.
I think I have 1 minute, sir. Thank you. This is item 29, and this refers to a Quimby fee and a development. It doesn't really list in this development how many of these homes would be actually low income, medium income, some income. As a matter of fact, the County Board of Supervisors took some action yesterday regarding state legislation that would impose a $75 fee on real estate transactions that would help to generate about $500 million in revenue for low-income housing. But it never defined low-income housing. Just as an example, the Grand Avenue project has a portion of it that's available for low-income housing, but that's a $200 million project. What the Quimby fees should be doing here, as they did at the Grand Avenue project, is portioning out a part of it for the parkettes that have been developed in certain areas of the city. It's important that this funding be used in a way that's available to the public. All too often, these Quimby fees end up being put away into some account that's unavailable to anybody in the public because they don't meet their resources, they don't meet the distance. There's Quimby fees that can't be used for the renovation of the new police headquarters, even though the Grand Avenue Park was developed with Quimby fees from that project.
Mr. President, he is not talking about this track map.
Talking about the use of Quimby fees, Mr. City Attorney.
Be specific, Mr. Sachs. You have to be
Quimby
specific.
fees, right here. It says specifically on the next to the last line, Quimby fees, $24,128. And I'm talking about uses of other Quimby fees as an example of what should and shouldn't happen with the use of Quimby fees. I don't understand that, Mr. City Attorney.
No, you were very clear, Mr. Sachs. Thank you. No other speakers on the queue. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. Next item.
Mr. President, that brings us to item number 30. It's a matter scheduled for closed session.
Mr. Krikorian?
And just for the record, on item number 30, the Government Code section should read 54956.9 D1 rather than subsection A.
Mr. Krikorian?
Yes, Mr. Bunch, this is simply the posting of a bond. It's no real change in litigation, so if any member has a question, we can consider it in closed session, but otherwise it can be approved in open session.
All right, members, if you review your work there, no one calls this special. So, Mr. Krikorian, then we're going to call this special. Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, if I may, in the case entitled Robert Contreras versus City of Los Angeles, there's a recommendation to authorize the city attorney to post an amount not exceeding $8,283,612.88 for posting security for appeal of judgment.
Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. Forthwith. Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, that brings us to general public comment for items not on council's
Mr.
agenda.
John Walsh, Mr. Arnold Sachs, Henry Marine.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. See Eric Garcetti slitting Wendy Gruhl's throat here. Big party last night. A lot of people got drunk. Mr. Garcetti was even drinking heavily, and he almost never drinks. And Herb Wesson was really drinking like a fish at the party, according to the people who were at the party who told me what happened. Let's start with the big losers. Who were the big losers last night? The Clintons. They paid them $100,000 with the robocalls and everything in the most liberal, second most liberal city in America. No one gave a damn what Bill and Hillary said. They put in Garcetti. Big. Maria Elena Durazo. Big loser. I want to squelch the rumor that last night she jumped off the roof of City Hall. That didn't happen. She jumped out of a second-story window and escaped with bruises. Maria Elena Durazo, anybody she touched died as a candidate. Absolute 100% loser. Wesson, I'm telling you right now, Garcetti isn't here. He wasn't here for a month. He's going away for military service. That's why I'm asking you, and you have the authority. I'm asking Garcetti to resign now in June, so he doesn't make the $15,000, and that Mitchell, that the man we already elected as the 13th council member, be appointed for the month of June. You can do that. You appointed, and many times you have appointed in the past. Why should we have an empty seat as a member of 13th while he's somewhere around when we have already elected a new councilman? The opposite of Choi, another loser. I'm telling you right now, HollywoodHighlands.org.
Arnold Sachs from Lenox, California.
Can you disinfect this? I mean, you know, there's no telling what kind of disease he's carrying. Yes, quite the election yesterday. A choice between plastic and styrofoam. Unfortunately, both are toxic to the environment. Congratulations to the EMT Week for all you doing. Certainly, Mr. Englander, that was an inspiring speech. Too bad it wasn't as inspiring when you were in the budget discussions trying to figure out the extra $13 million to implement the fire chief's new plan on putting out EMT services for the city so that they would have extra ambulances, $13 million. We had six budget categories that we discovered in the budget hearings. We have 6 sources of revenue that weren't accounted for, but congratulations, EMT. Wait till fiscal year 13-14. Stay tuned for the crisis next May. And then yesterday you had a vote on the regionalization of the airport. There'll never be regionalization on the airport as long as LAX, LAWA, sets the rates, the landing rate fees at Ontario. It makes absolutely no sense for them to set lower rates when they're investing, what, billions, $4 billion, $5 billion, $6 billion, $8 billion at LAWA, which doesn't include, by the way, any transportation facilities, just modernization. And yet they're setting the landing rate fees at Ontario, and people are saying it's the economy, stupid. No, it's the stupidity that you elect, that you put into the elected officials to run this city and these agencies. If you set the landing rate fees for your competition, you're probably going to set them higher than the ones at your facilities.
Mr. Marine is next. Thank you, Mr. Sachs.
As you know, state and federally funded construction work is subject to prevailing wage and trust laws. My Hackland COLA check stubs show every hour of government service I provided subject to prevailing wage. And as you know, MOUs show every percent the Hackland Board and the City Council agreed to shelter from my pay for the benefit of CRA-funded trust administrators. Consequently, it's shown in black and white the names of everybody who agreed to borrow public funds and use subject to a 90-day written notice to return them. And as we know, you've been doing it for 20 years, so there's a lot of interest is built up in this time. We know that the city provided 90% of the pay rate and held 10% in various bank accounts, city bank accounts. Consequently, you're finding those now. The money just sits up there and pops up and says, oh, where does this come from? Because those were CRA funds and HUD funds and so on and so forth. So all you got to do is follow the black and white lines. It says, who took this money, what account it went to, and there it is. You find all this money that you sheltered from the pay of others and me. In addition, you know that anybody employed over 1,000 hours has to be brought into a permanent position and allow participation in lacers and PERS. You got hundreds of people floating around here with red badges on, and now that they know they got their disaster service workers and they got a sworn position, now you have a duty to bring these people in and pay them like you're supposed to. We got a new set of councilmen, and we got a new way of doing business in L.A. And we still got those lame ducks going out. Y'all can do something before you leave. My mama said the worst thing a duck has is bill.
Maria Jimenez. Maria Jimenez.
I want to talk about the lack of leadership we have among all of you on the City Council and Mayor. Affordable housing is the most important thing that should be on your agenda. I would not vote for any of you until I see Skid Row cleaned up and the entire Wilshire Boulevard corridor, as homelessness is widespread all up from the Gold Line to Santa Monica Beach. It's an epidemic. Our seniors, our youth, disabled, mentally ill, unemployed people on Social Security with nowhere to go because of your lack of building affordable housing. Affordable housing under your leadership has failed and been replaced by middle to upper class housing. Where we were promised affordable housing, it's been replaced with expensive housing. We must care this growing epidemic under your leadership, because you guys are at fault. You've been in office a number of years to make all new housing affordable, to fix the homeless situation in Skid Row, and work with all surrounding cities to bring back affordable housing. We have no business building a fast train from San Francisco to LA when there are human beings on Skid Row laying in feces and urine. While your offices sparkle, shine, and clean, and you spend on renovations of City Hall, your priorities are all wrong. You make false campaign promises to get our vote, and the minimum wage should be commensurate to equal the high cost of living, and you haven't done that yet either. I think you all should be ashamed. It's not until you become homeless that then you'll want to fix the homeless problem. It's too bad that that's the only time people care. And the churches should be ashamed too for not allowing the homeless to sleep inside and to be open all day, every day. Their tax-exempt licenses should be taken away. Now is the time to care, to do away with homelessness, to save the next generation and the next, and so on. Now is the time, now, not later. All new housing should be affordable, all of us, all of it across America and all cities, states, and countries too, working with the international community, the United Nations. Basically, our humanity is at stake. Our safety derives from our care for our people, is what I believe. We are as strong as the weakest link among us, and that's where terrorism comes from a lack of care. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brian Barajas. Is Brian here? Is Brian here?
Oh, me?
Yeah, yeah, right. Check this out. All right, now, if anybody has a problem with the word British Empire or the Queen herself, Elizabeth, now, it's not the people, it's just the idea. So we're not attacking the British people, it's just the idea that she represents. Now, the effects that we're seeing with the unemployment, the deaths, the suicides, all of this stems from the result from a lack of insight amongst, well, let's just say the general population. The problem here is that we have right now the power to pass Senate Bill 985, the Return to Glass-Steagall. The other side is H.R. 129. Now, we're living in days of dark ages. In a dark age, people become utterly just incompetent. Incompetence. And the problem that we keep facing is that everything that we do is towards death. And if you want to reverse that, it's very simple. You have to realize that the British Empire under Queen Elizabeth has been ruling the destruction of mankind, of civilization now. The death of Kennedy, the death of Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, their spirits live in those who are conscious of this. Now, I represent, as I made that statement on April 16th, I represent the American system of economics. That is a principle.
All right, now calling Juan Alcala. Alcalan.
I wish you would learn to pronounce names before you become a city councilman. That
You
way,
give me a lot of different names, Juan. You're taking everybody's time.
this
Please.
is public comment.
I know.
I'm
Take your
making
time
my
and
public
speak.
comment.
Thank you
I
very
believe
much.
that you're all washed up.
Thank you very
are
much.
people that do not understand the people. And anyway, you were not set up to understand the people. You were set up to control the people by any means possible. And that is totally wrong. The constitutional system for the United States is totally wrong. It was created to dominate the poor by the rich. Is that a fact or fiction? You figure it out. To me, I'm just a dollhouse dude, and I love to make love to rich, corrupted ladies. If there are any rich, corrupted ladies in the audience, please see me outside. All I want is housing for everybody, housing that is not touched by the corruption that every damn city hall around the world is perpetrating on the people. The problem with this world is government. You are not the government, you're only the administration of the people's money, and you have taken the power upon yourselves until somebody comes and puts a baton where the sun don't shine. Then you begin to listen. You should have a homeless program that you go into before you become any kind of government. And then you will learn to listen to the people.
Juan Alcala, thank you. Mr. Jones is next. We welcome our guests from London who are here today. Thank you so much. Mr. Jones.
Good morning. My name is Daniel Jones. In the context of the British are coming, they never left. Also, I'd like to recognize lupus. My mother had lupus for 12 years. I was there from the beginning and to the very end, the very last day of her life. The best advice I can have if somebody has that terrible disease is to have a son like me, because I made sure she was there. My father made sure that I understood one thing in this life. Either you attract or you deflect. Politicians, bureaucrats, anybody who's stuck between a statement and a fact can be deflected. I can take a fact and make it a statement instantly. Article 14, Section 4 of the United States Federal Constitution. You can make a statement and make it a fact. You made it an excuse, an exception. Our country has a long history of making sure no tumults, riots, suppressions, insurrections, oppositions, occupations ever succeeded. Why? I can prove it. We're still united. The reason why the United States federal government, clear down to the governor of the state of California, well, I think it's the great state of California, allowed an occupation. Therefore, Herb West and I am officially charging you with perjury of oath. That is a high crime and high misdemeanor. Comes with federal penalties. And every single lame duck sitting here is all responsible because you all put up with it. You didn't say a word. That's called a conspiracy. Perjury of oath has teeth. My father and my mother made sure I'd be here for that period. It says right here, suppression of insurrection or rebellion shall not be questioned, period. I was the exception to my mother's period. My father did the right thing, so you.
Thank you very much. That completes public comment for today. Mr. Clerk, what's before us?
Mr. President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
So ordered. Any announcements, members? No announcements at this time. A reminder that tomorrow, City Council will meet to discuss the budget at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Is that correct, Sergeant? 10 a.m. council session, special session. No announcements. Any adjourning motions? Yeah. Just a reminder, 10 o'clock tomorrow, full council budget meeting, 10 o'clock. Please rise for adjourning motions at this time. All members rise for adjourning motions. Announcement, Mr. Parks?
Is it 9 or 10?
10 o'clock. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Rise for adjourning motions. Mr. Englander.
Friend of mine that somebody many of you know as well just recently passed away, Steve Kinney. Steve, I'm saddened to announce that he passed away on May 19th, at the age of 69, from cancer and hospice care at his home in Redondo Beach. He had a long standing career as a leading consultant and was the fabric in California politics. His clients included Governor Pete Wilson, State Treasurer and U.S. Senate candidate Matthew Fong, Congressman Doug Oss, Senate Republican leader Jim Brulte, Don Knabe, our supervisor, and many others. A long list of many clients, including California Restaurant Association, California Correctional Peace Officers Association, did a lot with law enforcement, conducted research in 52 of the state's 80 assembly districts and 22 of the state's 40 Senate districts. He was truly a leading expert in his industry. He joined Public Opinion Strategies in 1999. For the last 14 years, had run the firm's California office. He worked in Western politics for nearly 40 years, including as an RNC regional political director and consultant and pollster with Portland-based More Information. He was an avid golfer, loved traveling, running, cooking, great California wines, and was always remembered as a kind and loving person by his friends. He will be dearly missed, leaving behind his wife Cindy. Steve was a dear friend of mine who I had the pleasure of working with over the years, and just always had a smile, could always tell a joke. He always gave incredible advice, and lived life to the fullest. His services will be held on Tuesday, June 4th at 1 p.m. at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church in Redondo Beach. We're also asking if anybody wants to make a donation. He would have liked you to do so to Sterling College, where he was very active as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Englander. Members, seeing no adjourning motions, let's go ahead today and this day and serve the city of Los Angeles well. This meeting is adjourned.